My name is Shimon Cohen. I'm the Director of Communications for AFDP Global, and it is with enormous pleasure that we're here today in Soccerex, and my privilege to host this conversation with His Royal Highness Prince Ali of Jordan, who is our founder and president, and our Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Jean-François JF Cecillon. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for the beautiful weather. The rain is making me anyway, feel very much at home. We have a video to kick off.
Hola a todos los fans del fútbol de Atari. Soy Leo Messi. Espero que disfruten juntos del partido. Así que prepárense con sus amigos y familiares y disfruten del juego.
Your Royal Highness, you've been involved for many years in football. Every aspect of the game, every regional activity, every global activity. What is it about our beautiful game, this beautiful game, that brought you to AFDP and AFDPG?
Well, I've been involved with my national association for many years. And then obviously I was elected by our continent in Asia to be vice president at FIFA. And during that time, looking at the way the system is and what was going on, the idea of social responsibility in football was, at the time, really more about presenting a good image for organizations rather than actually doing what you can for communities around the world. And football is the common language of the world. It really is. And so we started this program, AFDP, which was the Asian Football Development Project in Asia at that time. And from there, I embarked on a mission for FIFA president. We know how that ended up. But during that journey, I went and visited countries all over the world, especially, even from Africa to parts of CONCACAF, the Caribbeans in particular as well. And there is such a need and such a passion where you can use football to transform people's lives. And through that journey, I decided that, hey, we have to take this global.
And social impact is something that you see absolutely clear from that video that we just saw. The idea, we all read about it in the newspapers, 1 million Syrian refugees came into Jordan, and the idea that it's one homogeneous unit isn't the case. Football is clearly the unifying factor. And I went, I fell in love, and JF, you went and you fell in love. Tell us your story.
Well, my story couldn't be more simple. We met with Prince Ali in February this year in London a couple of times. Then he invited me to spend some time in Jordan to witness what can be done in reality, not just in words or in presentation books, but in absolute reality. What makes a difference? I went to Zatari, spent a day there. It's just not super impressive to go there, to be there, and to see people living in these conditions. What's even more impressive is that when you think that Zatari, which is a refugee camp, is the 4th largest city in Jordan today in population, and you see these thousands of people and these thousands of children being united unified almost around football, and then going to school and be educated, and tomorrow they can see the future in a different way. There is nothing like no future. It's terrible for a child to have that sentence in his mind, or in her mind. What I saw there finished to convince me, and then I delightfully accepted that what Prince Ali asked me to do was the right thing to do. So that's probably the best job I could dream of in that stage of my life, to actually do this.
So we're going to take AFDP Global. We're going to look at territories. What works in refugee camps works elsewhere. The Cambodia story, for example, is just a beautiful story.
Sure. I mean, with AFDP, when we did it in Asia, and we still are, we worked across the continent. In Cambodia, for example, we had a situation where there was a local NGO who asked us to help out young girls who were victims of trafficking. Mm-hmm. And so we went there, we saw the situation, and we realized that through football we could bring them together. And they ended up being the first champions of the Cambodian Women's League, as well as the backbone of the Cambodian national team. And they also managed to change a culture where, although there's a big problem with trafficking, it tends to be a taboo to talk about, and all of a sudden they become heroes for that country.
And one of the things that we talked about, particularly Jeff, you talked about it at the Emirates in London a month ago when we launched, was the sustainability of everything that we're doing. And the Cambodia story really is a story of a serious sustainable project. How are we looking to bring sustainable projects into other parts of the world?
This is the only one question, actually. There's no other question but sustainability, because short-term projects look very nice for a couple of months. If nothing happens after this, you create more despair and more trouble to the children you brought a nice project to if there's no follow-up. So the point is, it's got to be sustainable. And for that, it needs to be answering a few questions, fundamental questions. Less is more. Is this real or not? I believe yes, it is. The point is not to do everything, everywhere, all the time, because at the end, you do nothing. It's to carefully select which projects you want to be involved in. The second thing is, what is the social impact you are actually delivering in reality on the field every day to the people you do it for, i.e., most of the time, our target group, I could say it like this, I'm sorry for the expression, are the young boys and young girls and the young adults, male or female. One thing where we're going to be very careful about to get sustainability is select carefully the partners we're going to work with, because we're not going to compete with anybody. We're going to work with all NGOs, charities, corporate companies, leagues, associations, everybody.
But that's important, because there are so many organizations, many of them here, that use the same buzzwords: social impact, sustainability. What are we doing that's going to be different? And we, JF and I, worked with the Nelson Mandela Foundation, and one of the things that we had to convince the NGO world is we're not trying to steal anybody's lunch. We were trying to facilitate through the NGO, through the Nelson Mandela Foundation, to facilitate other people, other NGOs, to do what they want to do. That's what we're trying to, same model, yeah?
Yeah, you want me to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what I really, really believe is that if you are selecting your project with the right people, and if you know exactly what kind of ultimate reach you want to get, it's going to be profitable for the people you do it to, and it's going to be sustainable. First, you need to invest in management. We have an amazing advisory board that, I should say, Prince Ali has put together. One of them is in the room today. We also have a great experience of running global companies, and we have experience of running, global projects in the various executives who are employing. So there's a moment where we're going to make the difference by being non-competing, being very good advisors, invest money, support people financially, select carefully, and follow the three pillars I discussed before: impact, partnership, and sustainability.
So how are we looking to identify projects, Prince Ali?
Well, the way you do it is to look at it case by case, and you have to do it on a case-by-case basis. And you can work with NGOs, with FAs, as we've said before. I mean, we've done projects, for example, in building pitches and giving football supports in remote areas of Bhutan. We've worked with the Philippines, where you've got thousands of islands, and they have problems connecting. I see the same problems with the Caribbeans, for example. So every place has its own specific case, whether it's for the boys or for the girls.
And Jeff, we looked at a program even in London.
Yes, even in London, funny enough, because, I don't like the fact that you say, poverty or war zones or unprivileged areas are only in some places around the world. They are everywhere. You go to some suburbs in Leicester or Birmingham in the UK, or to Los Angeles or Detroit in America, frankly, people are in need, because some communities are in serious need of getting together, be educated, learn the rules, and have a future. And it's not, it is really something where in the UK, for example, we've been approached by this Mexican NGO who start in the UK building academies for young female players, like 6 to 14 years old. And it's in Peckham, in South London. It's not in Ghana or in Malaysia. It's in England. And this is why I like when Prince Ali told me, let's make it global, because you can go anywhere around the world and identify a place with people who need to have their community unified, united, I should say, or transformed.
And to touch on that as well, I mean, you want to do something that has an effect. With Zatari in particular, it started by trying to get the children together through football, and also to teach them about mine risk awareness and other risks that they face when they hopefully and eventually end up going back to their country.
And how does it fit with education and schooling?
Well, very often what you notice is that, and this is what AFDP Global is about, is through football, which is a means to an end, you are reaching different segments of developing people. Education is one of them, psychological support is one of them, emotional rescue is another one. You go to some war zones, you see some 7-year-old children, they were fighting with hatchets 6 months before. Then one day they play football, they go to school, they dress, and they learn the rules of how to play together. That transformation is very simple, but this is what needs to be done. And education is completely part of it, because if people were more educated, there would be less war. So if you can educate children and tell them, drop the gun and take a ball and play, and go to school, I think if we can do that, that's fantastic. This is what we're here for.
And one example of this is we're talking obviously of working with an NGO called War Child.
Yeah.
And they're reaching out in Central African Republic, and they realize that they want to rehabilitate child soldiers psychologically, and the only way they could get them in was to bring in football. So we're hopefully going to be working with them to provide that means so that they can attract the children. But again, that's the common language. And once you do that, they revert to being the children that they are, and they can grow in a much more healthy and developed way.
And that's a clear example of how we're all intending to work together with NGOs on the ground, because we don't claim to have the expertise in every territory. There are other people who have that expertise, sure. But what we can do is open doors and develop what's already on the ground, and sometimes provide a structure, and it's that structure, isn't it, that we're really looking to achieve. And when we were looking at traveling the world for the FIFA presidential campaign, you talked about having people on the ground and in development offices on the ground, and this is an extension of that.
Sure. And I think that also we are working. We have an agreement with the UEFA Foundation and with La Liga and others, and we want to expand on that as well. And a lot of these foundations, for example, the UEFA Foundation, came after AFDP started. So it's great that there's this movement, and I think we have to coordinate it. You find that there are NGOs working in different parts of the world, but they are not linked together, and I think we want to be a conduit to link everybody together in that respect. And
absolutely, and one of the problems that we've all experienced and we all understand is the problem of accountability, which is why this is not a charity, It's not an NGO. It is, as JF, you keep describing to everybody, is a social impact business.
Social enterprise. In social enterprise, you have social, which is what we do, and you have enterprise, which is what we are. And an enterprise is a business, and a business which obviously is a bit different to a commercial business, but it's run in the same way, with the same attention to detail, with the same transparency in the accounts, with the same way of explaining how and where the funds are used, and how then they create sustainable projects in time. So yes, I mean, accountability is fundamental in this world, because what we're essentially going to do is use some people's money to give it to some other people. And for that, you need to have a transparent process and therefore be accountable of what you do.
And talking about money, where are we heading for in terms of raising money?
Well, we have several routes to actually deliver this. One route, which is our major focus, is to create a social fund. Per se, it's like a social investment fund, if you want, and it is something where we're going to raise money through different corporates, different sponsors, different companies. We're going to tap into their CSR budgets, we're going to tap into their charity budgets, and we're going to build this amount of money, which in turn will help us to satisfy almost on time, live, any action we want to undertake at the time we want to undertake it. The second route is obviously the more obvious routes, which are now donate on the website, and this is something I would encourage anyone to put £1, £5, £10. The third route is to do some particular events, private events.
We're in the States here. You can speak in dollars as well.
Yes.
Yes, but my friends here, who are intellectually astute people, can make a conversion 135 to 1 in a second.
129, Brexit
129.
went really badly last night.
Teresa did well last night then. Yes, so this is how we get the money. But again, this money is not just to be piled up, it's to be used, with all the people who are coming to us. Since Prince Ali and I did this announcement at the Emirates a month ago, we had over 25 meetings of people just coming to see us at the office and say, this is my project, that's what I want to do, that's how much I need, this is when I need you. I mean, you can feel there's a traction and a need for so many things. It's absolutely scary and encouraging.
And so, whatever we get goes directly back into the projects.
Yeah, that's important. All of the sort of administration costs.
And
that's
so the
all
more
funded.
support we can get, the bigger our effort can be.
So what we thought we would do now, to divide this up, is to take some questions from the floor and then return to the conversations if there are any questions. I think there are some guys with microphones coming this way. So does anybody have any questions for either His Royal Highness or for JF at this juncture? Yes, sir.
Hello. Okay. Are there any current efforts going towards marketing? And if there are, what is your perspective on spending money on marketing? How much? And just any feedback you have in that area?
You mean on marketing what AFDP Global is doing?
Yes, because I've seen, I know it's a social enterprise, but I've seen a lot of nonprofits not spend the time and money on marketing and as a result not do well. So just wondering what your perspective on that is.
Okay, so your question is a very good one, because this is exactly what a social enterprise should do. Mm-hmm. We are here, it doesn't come for free. Coming here, you need to fly here, you need to organize a lot of things, you need to organize this today, you need to take a lot of meetings, and you need to develop with a lot of people your concept, your company concept, and explain what you want to do. That's an investment, it's a physical investment. We are here physically to meet as many people as possible. Another one, which we did, we paid a lot of attention during the entire summer to build our website. Our website is phenomenal. I don't say that because it's our website, but it is. The navigation is fantastic. The content is second to none. And every number, every letter on this website has been checked. It's accurate. It's just one of the most brilliant websites for a social enterprise. So this is where we put our money as well. The third thing, we're doing this. Because after all, football is also somewhere, even if you're not a football organization, It's a means to an end. So we do these things and that we give away to some people as well.
And I think also one of the main issues, and we learned this in Asia, because we started very small, but you build your reputation through your actual actions. So we're not an NGO that's going to talk a lot and not deliver. But I think that once we start doing the deliverance on a global scale, then that will propel a marketing scheme. But at the same time, if you have any ideas you want to share, we're always welcome to hear them.
But I have to say that this is when Prince Ali said to me, look, to take this global, we're going to need to find a chief executive. And JF and I have been friends for years, and I'm sorry to embarrass you here, but now is the moment. From in music, signing Robbie Williams, in games, bringing Super Mario to Europe, philanthropy with the Nelson Mandela Foundation. The common theme is all about global marketing, and I think we were sponsoring football in a different way well before Emirates and Qatar Air got onto the ideas.
Yes, we at Sega, and Shimon helped me on that at the time, 20 years ago, we are the first one to recognize the link between game players and football players. And before FIFA came out as a game, we signed 4 sponsoring deals across Europe, one with Arsenal in the UK, Deportivo, Sampdoria, and Saint-Etienne in France. And we signed this because we wanted to get players close to football. So you use football as a means to an end to get to your customers. When the Mandela concert, which was the same thing, we brought 35 artists to Cape Town. We had the first, Live Aid style concert organized in Africa. And Mandela understood that you take music, but it's a means to an end. The end is create awareness on HIV/AIDS. Here it's the same. Prince Ali has a vision. Football is a means to an end. The end is to transform communities around the world. So that's, if you want, the marketing approach we are taking along the lines, and this is where we actually understood each other well.
But you can still give us additional advice.
Where is here we are.
Hi, I would like to welcome Your Royal Highness. My name is Hassan Al-Batayna. I am from Jordan. We are involved in the Yazidi refugee camp in Kurdistan, Iraq. So we would like to be involved in this project. So what needed to be done?
Well, we can talk about that, obviously. And I think we can talk about that afterwards, but we definitely want to hear about that and see what we can do in that respect. But thank you. We'll talk afterwards.
There's another question over here.
Very much. My name is Emmanuel de Medeiros. I suppose that many of you know me for my background in professional football. I was the founder and CEO of the European Leagues and World Leagues Association for many, many years. And during that period, I got to know more intimately the vision and the man besides the vision that we have here in front of us. So Prince Ali, thank you very much for delivering to the world this project, which is fascinating. To you and your team, chapeau. It shows that football is much more than a game, it's much more than a business. It is, as you well said, a tool to transform society in meaningful, effective, measurable ways. And you mentioned also, my friend, you mentioned the competitiveness that exists in every space, including this one. I think we need to change this culture. We need to accept the fact that the problems are so complex, sophisticated, global scale, that we need everyone's involvement. A brand new organization like you, delivering a new vision and ambition, connecting, as you said, being a conduit of all organizations and NGO in this space is what we need to use sport to serve society. Acknowledging that we have areas of confluence, your organization, my organization, my alliance, Sport Integrity Global Alliance. How do you see your organization in the next 3 years? What do you want, when you look back, what do you want to have delivered in 3 years' time? And by the way, how can we help you to deliver your vision?
Sorry, excuse me, I have a bit of a cold, but no, thank you so much for your words, my friend. I think the way we want to see our organization in a few years' time is to have touched as many places in the world as we can. The sky's the limit to how far we can go, and it depends on us how hard we work. It also depends on you as our friends in the football world, in the football business as well, how much you're willing to contribute as well. And with an organization like yourself, there is also another aspect that we had with AFDP in Asia, and we will do it on a global level, is we're an organization that is there to serve. There's no agenda, no politics involved. And we had in the past, for example, there was the headscarf issue in football. And we found that we used AFDP to set up roundtables, to get people together, to meet and discuss the issues, and experts from around the world, outside of let's say, the big players, be it FIFA or others. And we managed to change a ruling for the first time with IFAB to allow headscarves, whether it's for women or also for Sikh men who want to play, and so on. And at the same time doing it with mutual respect. So, for example, our women's national team was the first women's national team to go into Iran and play without headscarves. And we've also done things with medical issues. So in that respect also, AFDP can be a conduit for organizations, yourself, and to partner up with organizations like yourself, to work on ethics, to work on different programs, and be a real advisory board as well. So that's a different aspect that I'm very keen on working on as well.
Yeah. And Jeff, you had some clear positions on objectives and where we want to be in 2, 3, 5 years' time.
Thank you. I think the French speak too much, so.
Okay. That was my answer.
Yeah, we have this going all the time.
Well, I'm not supposed to be the shy guy here, So I'm going to say what we want to deliver, but that, Prince Ali may not say, or not even to recognize we're going to deliver this. I would like in 5 years from now, I would like AFDP Global to have fulfilled 2 essential missions. Number 1, for Prince Ali to be happy and satisfied that his vision has been carried forward exactly as he wanted it. So for that, I have to read his mind, and I have to deliver something that, where you see the company going, I'm going to go. The second thing is in the French way. I'm sorry, I don't have to be shy, being who I am. I would like to be able to AFDP Global to be recognized as an absolute super force in the social enterprise world, and one of the key companies, one of the companies with the most influence, the most integrity, and the most results. And this is what my mission is going to be in the next 5 years.
And clearly there is a need in pretty much every territory, and that's what we've learned. I think there was another hand. Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. Okay, my name is Bumi Janadu, CEO and founder of United Soccer Africa. My question is to Jeff. Since you have a music background, I have a similar background as well in music and promotions. How do you plan on creating an intersection between music and soccer to basically deliver your global campaign? That's one question. Another question is, Africa has the youngest youth population in the world. 60 to 70% of the youth population. And what the youth nowadays react to is 2 things. There's music, and especially in Africa is soccer. So how do you plan to deliver that by intersecting the 2 together?
So now you're touching on something which I didn't even discuss with Prince Ali, but it's on my secret tables. So yes, I have an idea to, in several continents, to actually use music as a driver to get football being the vehicle to transform communities and to get music with football. I have a few ideas. I'm not going to tell you now what it is, but you're right. It's very close. In many countries around the world, I come from from France, but I've been living in the UK for 30 years. In the UK, you have music, football, and boxing. Boxing's gone, so it's music and football. That's what it is. So for a lot of kids around the world, it's exactly the same problematic. And you're right, using music or football as a means to an end, you must have some common grounds between the two. And you must find some ways, and in Africa, where you're absolutely right, in 30 years from now, half of the population which we live in Africa isn't born yet. So, and that is going to be 60-70% of under 18-year-old people. This is where we have to be. This is where we have to work and deliver some programs. But you're right, music will be a part of AFDP Global. Not the part, but one of the supports.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Albert. I'm with the International Federation of Corporate Football. My question, well, first of all, thank you for taking this initiative of talking about social change. I think it's a very important thing, and the fact that this room is full of people believing in this is a testament. I'd like to know what kind of efforts, what kind of programs have you put forward to help adults rather than just the kids to make change. There's empirical evidence that shows that children are primarily motivated by their parents. If the parents are active, so will the kids. If you can share on that.
Yeah, and in fact, that's something that we addressed in AFDP a few years ago. Actually, that the focus is on youth, but also there isn't so much a focus on elder generations as well, and giving them a healthy lifestyle and a healthy well-being, especially in Asia, in many parts of Asia, where you do have a very growing older population. So that's something I think we definitely need to look at, and it's something I don't think that is looked at that well. So yeah, I think that's something that we will try and address as soon as we can. But we do need a lot of feedback and a lot of understanding because there are different dynamics across the world, and it's one way that we can address it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
There we are. Hi. I'm Graham Smith. I'm an international accountant from London, and one of my passions, aside from accounting, is sport for development. And I sit in a group that meets roughly quarterly, and we talk about different issues around the world and in the UK in sport for development. One of them is decision-making on investment. We have a lot of funders like Comic Relief in this panel, and and within this panel we have a lot of funders that are interested in why funders make decisions. What do they choose to invest in? Is it qualitative impact? Is it the story? Is it the inspiration and motivation? Whether it's a family type situation that Albert mentioned, where you're really galvanizing connections between generations, or is it purely quantitative, and is it your traditional accountants' numbers that are driving the investment? If I may ask, could you give us an enlightenment into how you've made your decisions so far and will do?
How are you going to measure?
So, to be completely transparent, because this is a key question, what you're asking here. Why do people give funds? How do you use the funds? And what are the criteria of selection? I'm not going to bore you with this, but we have 11 criteria we've put in place, which once we have the fund, help us to invest in inverted commas, you understand, but to actually support, and create programs in joint venture with local players and local operators. Before that, you have, why do people want to achieve when they put fund into a company like ours? What is their motivation? Or everyone I spoke with, there is not 1 ounce of bad feeling or disinterest or ignorance. They know very well why they do it. Whether you put £1 or £1,000 or more, it doesn't matter. People know why they put their money into something. Because, one, they recognize there is a problem. 2, they can't do anything themselves, but they want to do something. 3, they have to trust, inverted commas again, trust, which is a big word, the people they're going to give the money to. 4, they want to understand where it's going. And 5, how many times will you talk them backward, telling them, this is how I invest your money. So all of these components, whether it's from point A to us and us to point B, the criteria are the same and the motivations are the same. There's a lot of goodwill in the world, and a lot of goodwill which wants to be organized.
I think people want ROI, that's what you're really referring to. And if you put an enormous amount of money or some money into this, you need to know what you're going to get back in return. But one of the things that we've really focused on is to try to build sustainability around this. And that sustainability means lots of different things. For example, some years ago, I was involved in a project in Sierra Leone, funded by an international charitable foundation, a lot of money. And on the ground, the people on the ground were non-residents. There were people who were from various organizations there supposed to deliver this program. And it was all marvelous and wonderful and fantastic. Every box got ticked. It was all wonderful until Ebola broke out in Sierra Leone and all the foreigners left. No sustainability whatsoever. So you have to think long term. You have to be able to do that. Now, not everybody wants the numbers in their ROI, but you can see the Cambodia story is a fantastic story of where you can see what can happen. We're not talent scouts. That's somebody else's job altogether. But you have to understand what your criteria are before you make that investment, and it won't always be or won't only be about financial return.
Thank you very much.
There's a clock counting down here, but was there another question here on the left-hand side?
Yes, thank you. What are the key performance indicators for the projects you undertake? What are the main source of revenues? And how do you seek more money from those you already have?
Well, I think the indicators have happened in Asia already. And that's been one of the key issues. For example, we had partnered with PepsiCo, and we worked in projects in Asia. And they said, look, we want to work in North Africa. We want to expand. And at the time, it was just Asia. That's also one of the reasons why we do want to go global. So the indicators are there of successes of projects. Also, to make use of everything that you've got in UEFA, for example, in the past, when we first started, we went to them and we said, hey, what do you do with kits and with footballs when, seasons end and you introduce a new set of footballs and a new set of kits? And they said, really nothing. So we said, give them to us and we'll distribute them. So we would get, for example, 10,000 footballs a year from UEFA, and we distribute them across countries in the continent where they're needed. And what happens is they have the UEFA brand on them, but they're actually doing a real social help to countries that need it. So we have the indicators already, but again, now we're talking about a global impact. So we will have to judge, and we've learned a lot from our initial experience. So we know what mistakes not to do, and I think the biggest key issue that we always realized is, you have to make sure, you have to follow up on the projects themselves. And that's why, we do have to have local people and communities. So, for example, if we're working in the Caribbean, we want someone over there from the Caribbean also, because they know the situation better, and they can also follow up on the projects themselves. And then we assess ourselves, of course. And you do that whether us or through outside bodies as well.
And Jeff, clearly, following that, we are going to be having to set specific outputs for each project. It won't be the same.
Absolutely. There's nothing like having general KPIs that you want to apply to every project, because as you understand, de facto, each project has its own specifics and its own purpose, and the benchmarks for appraising, if you want, the success of a project or its delivery. For some of them, there's a backbone, you know what I'm saying? Do you use transparently the money that has been given? Yes. Did you put all the money you received into the project and create a... Yes, but then it's not just how much. It is some projects will be for creating football academies. Some other will be to give equipment. Some other will be to educate. Some other will be simply to create a think tank around a particular issue and make recommendation to the highest authority how to address a problem, how to fix it. So depending on the nature of the mission we will have on the given time, then the benchmarks and the KPIs will be different. But your question remains totally valid because there's no successful project without clearly established KPIs upfront.
And believe me, I've heard this word transparency used all over the place, but we're going to show you what real transparency is. Everything will be public about what we do and how we do it.
And talking about KPIs, we came to Soccerex for a number of very important reasons. One was to make everybody aware of AFDPG, KPI tick. The other one is to meet some fascinating people, KPI tick. And the third one is to identify people who want to work with us. And thank you all very, very much indeed for coming. And we've kept to time. Thank you.
Thank you.